Good morning, church family. I want to read to you from the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3. The author says, "To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to get and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to cast away, a time to rend and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace." Solomon is in this chapter trying to show us the difference between God and man. He starts out with verse 1 saying, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under heaven. Now, that implies the earth, that those who are dwelling on the earth, human beings, that they are bound to time. But there is one that sits above the heavens, one that is God, who is not bound to time. Man is bound to time. He's almost a slave to it, whereas God is timeless. Before time was ever in the world, before there was even a such thing as time, there was God. That God is eternal, that He dwelt in eternity before there was ever a time period. And now, what he's trying to tell us in this chapter is that God is sovereign and man is not. That God sits above, that He's on the throne, that He uses the earth as His footstool, that the heavens is His throne. And it has always been that way, and it is never going to change. God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. He is sovereign. He is absolutely sovereign. That He is not shaken by world events. That He is not frustrated by circumstances that happen on this earth, whereas we are. We go through the time periods. We have times of joy, and then we have times of sadness. There's a certain time when a farmer sows seed, and there's a certain time when a farmer harvests what he has sowed. But with God, He's not bound to that. God is absolutely sovereign. He's not shaken like we are. He will always remain the same. And Christian, this morning, if you are watching this, I want to encourage you to look up where God is. Not to look at your circumstances, not to be frustrated by all the events in this world, not to be frustrated on the horizontal, but to look up, look at the vertical, look where God is. What does the scripture say where He is? It says that He sits on the throne, that the Son of God sits beside Him, interceding for us. Be encouraged, Christian, because He's not shaken. He's never knocked off the throne. God is sovereign and will always remain sovereign, and nothing, not even a plague of worldwide that's going worldwide, is going to shake Him. When Satan came to God about Job, he had to get permission from God before he could go after Job. God is in absolute control. He ordains all that comes to pass. He sets the times and the seasons that we are in and that we will see. God is sovereign, and He will always remain sovereign.